Welcome to Midnight Story. Tonight's story is, it started on a Tuesday. Not a dramatic day, no storms, no headlines, just, Tuesday. At 9:17 a.m., my phone vibrated on the kitchen counter. I wasn't expecting anything, no missed calls, no new messages, just, a voicemail notification. One new voicemail, from my own number. At first, I laughed. I actually said out loud, very funny. Phones glitch all the time, right? But then I noticed something strange. The voicemail timestamp said it was recorded at 11:43 p.m. last night. That was impossible, because at 11:43 p.m. last night, I was asleep. I stood there for a full minute, staring at my phone, heart suddenly heavy for no reason. Then I pressed play. The voice started breathing before it spoke. Not background noise. Breathing. Slow. Uneven. Tired. And then, it spoke. In my voice. Not similar. Not close. Mine. Same pauses. Same slight rasp. Same way I hesitate before certain words. And it said, if you're listening to this, please don't ignore what happens next. My stomach dropped. The voice sounded scared, not panicked. Scared in a quiet way. Like someone who had already accepted something terrible. The voice continued, you're going to think this is fake. Or a prank. Or stress. A shaky breath. But you need to listen carefully. Because this already happened once. I couldn't breathe. My hand was shaking so badly I had to sit down on the floor. The message cut off abruptly. No explanation. No warning. Just, silence. I called my phone company. They told me the voicemail was real. Recorded. Stored. Sent from my number. They had no explanation. Then, before I could even process that, my sister called. She didn't say hello. She just said, did you get it too? She received a voicemail. From her own number. Same timestamp. 11:43 p.m. Different message. But the same voice. Hers. Voicemail. People across the world were posting screenshots. Voicemails. Missed calls. Audio clips. All from themselves. Different languages. Different countries. Same time. 11:43 p.m. But here's the part no one talks about. The messages weren't random. They were personal. Painfully personal. A man in Chicago received a voicemail saying, don't take the highway tonight. He ignored it. There was a 12-car pileup on that highway that evening. He survived. Barely. A woman in Seoul heard herself whisper, check your daughter's room. She did. Her daughter was unconscious from a gas leak. Saved in time. But others weren't so lucky. Some messages didn't warn. They confessed. One man received a voicemail where his voice said, you're going to leave her tomorrow. And you'll regret it every night after. He listened. He left. 3 months later, she died unexpectedly. The voicemail was right. Mine didn't give instructions. Mine just kept saying one thing. Over and over. Every time I replayed it, there was more. As if the voicemail was updating itself. The second time I played it, the voice continued. You don't remember the first time this happened. That's the problem. That night, no one slept. News channels stayed live. Experts argued. Scientists denied. Religious leaders prayed. But everyone listened to their voicemails. Again, and again, and again. At exactly 11:43 p.m., my phone rang. Incoming call. From my own number. This time, I answered. I didn't say anything. Neither did the caller. I could hear breathing. Then my voice said, I was hoping you'd pick up this time. I whispered, who are you? The answer was immediate. You. Just, later. I asked the question everyone was afraid to ask. Later, how much later? The voice hesitated. That depends on how many times you ignore this. Then the line went dead. Over the next few days, patterns emerged. People who followed the messages lived differently. People who ignored them suffered loss, accidents, disappearances, deaths that felt avoidable. Governments tried to shut it down. Phones were turned off, networks blocked, but the voicemails still came. Old phones, offline phones, even phones with no SIM cards. Then someone leaked classified information. The voicemails weren't coming from the future. They were coming from a loop. A reset. A moment in time that kept restarting. Only, memory didn't survive the reset. Except for one thing. Voicemails. At 11:43 p.m., the world ends. not explosively, quietly, and starts again. That's why the messages sounded tired. That's why they sounded resigned. These weren't warnings from the future. They were pleas from versions of us, who already lived through this. Again, and again, and again, my voicemail updated one last time. My voice said, "This is the closest we've ever been. If you're hearing this clearly, it means we don't have many resets left. A breath, please. Don't waste this one." At exactly 11:43 p.m., nothing happened. No reset, no blackout, no silence. The world stayed, and the voicemail stopped. Forever. People celebrated, moved on, forgot. But sometimes, late at night, when my phone is silent, I swear I can still hear my own voice, breathing, on the other end of the line. If you're still listening, maybe this message reached you for a reason. Subscribe to the channel, press the bell icon, because some stories only arrive once, and you don't want to miss them. Everyone thought it was finished. No more voicemails, no more calls, no more messages from ourselves. The world exhaled. News channels moved on. Hashtags disappeared. Experts called it a mass psychological event. A shared hallucination. Something caused by stress. Something explainable. But 3 weeks later, at 11:43 p.m., my phone vibrated. Not a call. Not a voicemail. A missed call notification. No number. No contact name. Just one word where the number should have been. Voicemail. I didn't touch it. I stared at my phone like it might bite me. Because deep down, I already knew. Whatever this was, it wasn't starting again. It had never stopped. The next morning, people began posting again. But this time, the messages were different. No warnings, no instructions, no confessions. Just one sentence. The same sentence, sent to millions, from themselves. You weren't supposed to remember this part. That's when panic returned. Because remembering was new. People began reporting something worse than voicemails. Memories. Moments they swore never happened. Arguments they didn't recall having. Decisions they didn't remember making. Faces that felt familiar but had no names. I started writing things down. Dates, dreams, random thoughts. And that's when I found the notebook. Hidden behind my books. Old, dusty. My handwriting. The first page said, "Reset count, 183 inches." I don't remember writing it. But every page after that was detailed, terrifyingly detailed. It described the voicemails before they ever happened. It described my sister calling, the hashtag, the accidents, the silence afterward, then the last entry, written in shaky ink. If you're reading this, it means we failed again. I flipped the page. Nothing. Blank. Except one line at the bottom. This time, they can hear us. That night, I didn't wait. At 11:42 p.m., I opened my phone. I hit record. I spoke into it. Slow. Clear. If this resets again, if you're me, listen carefully. They're not messages. They're echoes. At exactly 11:43 p.m., my phone rang. Not my number. Not unknown. The caller ID said, "We remember you." The voice wasn't mine. Not anymore. It sounded layered. Like many voices speaking through one mouth. "You broke the silence," it said. "That's why this version is unstable." I whispered, "What are you?" A pause. Then, "We are what survives when time gets tired." They explained everything. Not kindly. Not gently. The resets weren't accidents. They were repairs. The universe correcting itself. Again and again. Every time humanity reached a certain point, something went wrong. War. Collapse. Extinction. So time reset. But memory refused to fully erase. So it leaked. Through voicemails. Through dreams. Through deja vu. And now, people were remembering too much. You weren't supposed to contact yourself. The voice said, you were only meant to listen. I asked the question burning in my chest. What happens now? Another pause. Longer this time. Now, we choose who stays awake. The next day, millions woke up different. Eyes tired. Minds sharp. Fear replaced by clarity. They remembered past resets. Past lives. Past endings. Governments collapsed within hours. Because power means nothing. When people remember everything. My phone buzzed one last time. A message. From me. From a version I didn't recognize. If you're reading this, it means the loop is finally breaking. A pause. Whatever happens next, won't reset. That night, At 11:43 p.m., the sky didn't go dark. Time didn't reset. Instead, every phone on Earth lit up. Same message, no sender, no sound, just text. And for the first time in history, the future went completely silent. If this story reached you, maybe you're meant to remember too. Subscribe, press the bell icon, because some stories don't repeat. And this one only gets told once. Good night.